one of the big talking points of the Nintendo Switch 2 launch has been the LCD screen. Comparing this LCD screen to other LCD screens, as well as comparing it to the OLED Nintendo Switch, and how big of a downgrade is the LCD screen on the Nintendo Switch 2 comparatively to what a lot of people were playing before they went out and got the Switch 2, which was the OLED version, which had a beautiful screen, beautiful colors, deep blacks, and it was very nice to play the OLED Switch in handheld mode. The Switch 2 itself, though, has an LCD screen, and as somebody who has been playing it for a couple of weeks now, I think the screen is nice. I think it's vibrant. It's not as good as the OLED Nintendo Switch, but it does a very good job from just my eyes from the LCD perspective. But I'm just a consumer. I just play games. I just enjoy games. I don't do those deep dives into how fast is this screen? How does it compare to the other screens out there? But luckily, there are people out there that do that. And as of right now, the controversy surrounding the Switch 2 LCD is growing. And that is because we have Digital Foundry here calling this one of the worst, slowest modern LCDs that they have ever seen. In fact, there's a lot of discussion right now going on Twitter about this, and there's going to be back and forths about this for a while now. The reality is Nintendo is preparing to release an OLED Switch 2 probably here in a couple of years, and then everyone will be upgrading to that if they are fans of the console itself. I put out my review, and like I said, I thought the screen was decent. I haven't been enjoying it. I am enjoying the console, but we have this here. We have John Linneman here on Twitter in response to the Real Dre Trey 81, and also in response to the Digital Foundry impressions of the screen, saying that it's an impressive generational upgrade marred by a subpar display, and that's just their overall thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2. You have the Real Dre Trey 81 saying, "Lol, they expected a 720p screen with no HDR and got a 1080p screen with HDR and VRR and 120 FPS support, but now it is subpar." It does have all those features, which is nice. But John Linneman responds and says, "The site actually measured it, and it's even worse than we suggested. It's one of the slowest modern LCDs I've ever seen. If you're somebody that only looks at specs on the box and doesn't understand anything about displays, then you might be impressed." And I feel like for a lot of people, the reality is, who are picking up a Nintendo Switch 2, that's their process on playing these games, which is completely fine because most people are picking up the Switch 2 just to enjoy and play the games. And you're not going to notice a lot of the things that the tech analysis point out when they're going through their reviews. But we have to be honest about what is happening here. And based off of the results, you can see the Switch 2 display is very slow comparatively to other displays out there. 17.06 milliseconds here in the average response time, the lowest on the list in comparison to every different type of display that they have up here, from BenQs to HPs to Asus's to Sharps and everything. But the question is, does it matter, these comparisons? I think the other comparisons that people would want to know are things like, how does it compare to the Steam Deck? And we go down here, we have a great question being asked: slowest modern LCD compared to what though? A Steam Deck? And John Linneman responds, it's about 3 times slower than the original Steam Deck LCD. It's also slower than the 2017 launch Switch LCD, which to me, that is the bigger issue here, that they've put in an LCD that would be slower than something that did come out in 2017, and they've charged consumers more money for this product. Response here saying, interesting, but does it affect gaming negatively? Because if the effect isn't noticeable, unless you have the software to do precise testing, how is the console maintaining better visuals than the Switch 1 if the LCD is technically worse? John Linneman responds, for me, yes, a lot. If you're trying to play anything with a lot of lateral motion, side scroller, or rotating camera, it turns the image into a sea of blur. It's okay for racing games since you only move forward, so Mario Kart is fine enough. Try playing Sonic on there. Response here saying, seriously, you either have a dodgy Switch 2 or you need your eyes tested. It runs Mario Kart World very smooth, and Cyberpunk 2077 much better than any Steam. See double the price. Honestly, you guys are frauds. I will never take any notice of your views again. So many corrections. The issue with the responses like this, I think, is that they actually have the data to back these things up. I mean, they've done testing, and you can see that it is lower down on the response time comparatively to other screens out there. But there's that aspect, and then there is the aspect of the person who is actually playing the game and noticing it. From my eyes, and maybe because I just don't notice these types of things, but I've been playing Mario Kart, I've been playing Fast Fusion, been playing Cyberpunk, been playing some other side scrolling stuff, I haven't noticed really any issues. I haven't noticed any blurring. I haven't noticed anything that has taken away from my experience overall. But if what they are saying here is true across the board, this is a big downgrade from not only the OLED, but even from the 2017 Switch with more money being charged. The other thing to take into account is the fact that there were multiple different manufacturers of the Nintendo Switch 2 in different places, and that they maybe some people are getting different screens comparatively to other people, and maybe their experiences are going to be different. Potentially some people have less blur on their screens compared to people who got maybe a lower end or a worse manufactured display. I'm not too sure, but there is definitely stuff going on here with the screen itself. And now we have Carrie Golom here from YouTube, the Fox, saying here that my Switch 2 panel is very bad. Mind you, this video you see is with motion blur turned off. Motion blur on actually looks better because it's blurring the after image. You can see my other video over a week ago that has motion blur enabled. And responding here to John Lindemann saying, I really don't know how people can't notice this. And I'll be honest, I haven't really noticed it when playing in handheld. I've actually been having a perfectly good experience. Maybe it's just because I haven't focused on it, but a lot of people are now talking about this more. And this person asks, is this real time or slowed down to emphasize the blur? Response here, slow-mo, but it's easy to see with the eye. And then you have this person saying, mine's damn near nauseatingly bad. Again, it's slowed down, but maybe if I slow down mine, I will say, they say probably 2 screen manufacturers. This feels like the 3DS and its panel lottery when you could get a golden unit with 2 IPS screens. A mix of both are the worst with 2 TN screens. And Carrie Golom responds here, potentially yes. So there is going to be, I think, a lot more people looking at this, talking about it, and doing comparisons of their LCD screens to others. This could be a manufacturing issue. This could be an issue where some people are getting good ones, some people are getting bad ones. And there's going to be a lot of questions here, especially if it is significantly slower than the 2017 Switch. But will people really care? If you're playing your games, you don't notice it, they probably will not. And then Nintendo, of course, is going to be coming out with an OLED Switch in a couple of years that will significantly increase the overall quality of these screens and the overall experience when you are playing in handheld. But for my money right now, I play in handheld mostly with the Switch 2. That's what I have been doing, which is kind of opposite from what I was with the Switch 1. And I haven't felt a bad experience from it. And I wonder now, knowing about this, if I will start focusing on it and seeing that. But I would love to know your thoughts in the comments, especially if you do have a Switch 2. Has the LCD screen been a problem for you? Do you see the blur? And do you think it's a worse experience than you've had on other devices? And in particular, the Nintendo Switch 1 LCD. But on the video there, guys, if you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.